This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD Dantès, Chicago Music Awards nominee, EDM artist, and also gospel singer, as well as radio host at where again, Dantès?
WSBC 1240 AM.
Okay, there you have it, as well as many other talents. You could think of many things, and Dantès is a part of it. Now, what are you working on, Dantès?
Well, They Won't Go When I Go, my brand new EP actually comes out Friday. I'm very excited about it. It's been a labor of love to put this EP together, and we've had some amazing people work on it.
For our listeners who want to know more about what the subject matter is of They Won't Go Where I Go, could you uh, give them a little rundown and what their appetite for your EP?
Sure, yeah. So They Won't Go When I Go is it can be considered as a neoclassical song or even perhaps a gospel song.
Mhm.
The record originally was actually sung by Stevie Wonder. I don't remember the exact year. I don't want to get beat over the head and for making the wrong year calls on Stevie Wonder's releases, but it was originally a Stevie Wonder record, and the record essentially is a funeral march. You're talking about um, finding peace and finding rest on the next plane and learning how to live after people transition and go to the next plane. So it's a very, very, very important song for me. And it also just allows me to stretch my range a little bit as well. So it's a completely different take on the original.
And why did you choose They Don't Go Where I Go as your EP?
Well, I chose They Won't Go When I Go as the name of the EP, just because I think it sort of summarized, everywhere that I've been over the last year with my mother and my father, both passing away. I know I've been on the station quite a lot. So, for those listeners who may not be familiar, my mother and father both passed away last year. And so with that obviously comes, a change of thinking and a change of thought. And I just wanted to reflect that on my brand new project.
Your range is different. The way you sing in this EP is different from before. How did you get lessons, and then how did you decide to use your voice in this range in this way?
Well, making certain types of music doesn't really allow you to, express everything that you have inside vocally. Meaning, if you make dance music or, something along those lines, you won't be able to really, I hate to use the word belt it out, but yeah.
Mhm. And this song is pretty long too. How long is it?
It's about 5 minutes.
Mhm. Okay. And uh, was there were there any challenges in creating the EP?
No,
And They Don't Go Where I Go.
no at
Oh,
all, actually. Well, no, I think that's a bit untruthful. Yeah, there were a lot of challenges. Again, when your parents pass, you sort of have to figure out, where you are and where you're going. Um, for a while, I felt like I didn't really have a lot of inspiration. And using, those traumatic circumstances to inspire other people was really what I was interested in. They Won't Go When I Go, the EP is just more or less like a short reintroduction to Dantès because the They Won't Go When I Go album actually comes out July 5th, which is all of the songs. Um, we have some dancing, of course. People would like to dance, and we give that to them. But this is a very emotional project for me.
mhm. What has the reaction been from fans who have heard um, They Won't Go When I Go?
I think a lot of people are are receptive. They're supportive. The fans have been great. I know my fans would like to dance, so I made sure that I put some music that allowed, my fans to dance. But everyone has really received it really well, honestly.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot of people are sort of shocked. Again, like I said, when you make certain types of music, you're not really allowed to express yourself fully. So yeah.
Uh, You said that they were shocked about what now? How and there's a lot of ways of being shocked. Were they shocked by you kind of changing your genre or
Well, I
shocked?
don't I, I don't think I necessarily changed the genre. I just added just something else to the mix, if
Mm-hmm.
that's what you say.
Yes, yes, of course the entire album is yeah it's not exactly a change of genre, but were they shocked that you added something to the mix?
Yeah, I think so. I think people were very, very shocked. They're not necessarily used to hearing, Dantès singing over gospel records and neoclassical records. So it's a good change, but a positive change too.
What about when you started your radio show and then oh, were your friends your fans surprised about that? Were they shocked about that?
That's a good question. I think they were shocked. I think they were shocked. I have been told in the past that sometimes they have a hard time keeping up my fans. So because have my hands in so many different things. So
Mm. But then you keep your fans busy.
yes, I try to. I try to. You have to give people something to find inspiration in and find hope in, and hopefully I do that.
So in the album, what other elements are there? Since you do have your hands in a lot of different uh, kinds of projects. Of course, an album is an album, but what other elements are there in this album that you want to point out?
Um, Excuse me. There is a variety of genres. So, like I said, we have classical music and slash gospel. We have garage music. We have house music. I have instrumental music. So it's a very wide body project.
It sounds like you're playing Wizard on your album.
I am trying. I'm trying.
Anyway, so how did you choose these genres? Have you always listened to these genres, yeah, or did the genre come first for you to choose these songs, or uh, was it the message in the songs that influenced you to include them in your album?
That's a really good question. I've always been a listener of rhythm and blues and gospel and classical. Growing up as a kid, I listened to a lot of opera. I went to see Phantom of the Opera probably a million times. So, there's a lot of those influences, on this project, at least with the title song.
Mhm. And for opera, you know there's you really need training in order to sing opera. Have you can we expect that you might be singing opera in the future? And what kind of vocal training have you had?
Well, no, I don't think I'll be. Well, I won't rule out anything, but I will say that there's a possibility that there may be in the future perhaps some opera.
Uh,
Um, I just think it's important to just try and continue to grow, as a human being and as a musician to try and explore different textures and sounds to create a project that's truly original. And I think everyone will be very, very pleased and excited to hear it. It literally is a roller coaster of an auditory experience.
what kind of vocal training have you had? Because
Well,
you sound really good, and
thank you.
they won't go when I go.
Thank you so much. Well, I have not had any vocal training, but I have been singing since I was about 7. So that has a lot to do with it. And like I said, growing up, I listened to, a lot of the Phantom of the Opera. pretty much anything related to Andrew Lloyd Webber. I I listened to growing up, in addition to R&B and all of those things. And when you originally first start singing, you try to mimic some of the people that you love until you are able to sort of figure out your own voice.
Let's say that right now, a project dropped into your lap to sing an opera song. Which opera song would you select?
Hmm. As cliche as it sounds, it might be "Think of Me" from the soundtrack.
From what? You kind of dropped out.
Sorry, "Think of Me" on the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack.
Uh-huh. Awesome.
One of my
Awesome.
favorites on that project.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what so when you the album was released, do you have any event going on to celebrate it? Any parties, anything that's going on for the release?
For the release, of course, we have our traditional, press rollout. As we're speaking now, in Europe, we're having the "They Won't Go When I Go" premiere simultaneously. So as we're talking right now, that's actually premiering um, on Radio Italia through the European Indie Music Network. So that's happening. We also have a radio date coming up with WHPK on the south side of the city. But as far as actual, album releases, parties, things like that, no, there won't be anything like that. Um, I have, a million things to to continue to do, once the project is out, and taking time to, celebrate and have a party with people is, is not necessarily going to help me get done what I need to get done, even though my fans know I love them. They're more than welcome to, leave a comment, on Facebook or Instagram and let me know what they think about the album and the EP. Sorry.
What projects are happening now that you will can tell us about?
So right now like I said, we wrapped up They Won't Go When I Go, the full album, and the EP comes out this Friday, and the album actually comes out on the 25th. So those are the only projects that we have coming out right now. There'll be a few videos for some songs on the albums at a later date, probably within the next month or so.
Mhm. Okay. But creatively, is there anything that you're doing now that you like to share?
No, I'm always continuing to make music. That's my job. That's what I do 24/7 around the clock.
Mm.
I'm still recording my radio show on WSBC 1240. So yeah, same old same with me, honestly.
How much time does it take for you to record that show to prepare? And how many hours of the week does it take out of your week?
To prepare for the Access Lakeshore Drive show, it normally, honestly, to tell you the truth, it probably does take about 4 days to complete a whole episode with editing and adding music and doing all of those things. So it's very labor intensive, but it's very fun. It's very fun.
And how long is the show? And what time is the show? So our listeners might tune in.
So the show is actually an hour, and so they can tune in at 5 p.m. The first Friday of every month on WSBC 1240 a.m.
Awesome, awesome. And when uh, are you planning to do any touring with this album?
Not right now. Next year. I'm not entirely focused on touring right now. And for those who are in the music business, I'm sure you understand why. It's very costly to tour, and music in 2024, we're being paid pennies. So touring is not cost effective, and even major artists are no longer are able to tour because of that. And that's also due to the fact that Live Nation has a monopoly on the whole entire concert business. So no, there will be no touring.
Mm.
I think that the internet allows me to be, in a million different places at once. Well, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, we have the premiere, going on in, Poland and Europe right now. So I think that that's the best thing to do, and just continue to focus on putting out good music, and when the time is right, and if I feel that I would like to, I will do that. But for right now, there's no immediate plans for that. I have too much
Well,
going on.
mhm. Yeah, so for Live Nation, it kind of sounds like what's happening with Grubhub with restaurants is so you uh they take they charge so many fees that the artist is not able to make any money when they handle the tours.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot like those platforms, Grubhub, Uber Eat, all of that stuff. So, um it's just the way that the business has been. Live Nation has had a monopoly on, the touring business and events now for almost 20 years. So I think the federal government is actually in the process of starting an anti-trust lawsuit against them. So,
Mhm.
excuse
Mm,
me.
that's okay. So before they had the monopoly, if the people tour, they were able to make some money, but right now they'd be losing money, is what you're saying, right?
Well, especially if you're an independent artist, you have to pay for transportation. You have to pay for everything. So you have to, at the end of the day, you have to think about your finances and what works for you.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. And playing locally is not that you can't really charge much for tickets, right? If you play it locally.
well, that's not necessarily true. I just don't have any interest in playing locally because Chicago is not necessarily my type of town. Even though I've won a Chicago Music Award, I just don't. I love Chicago, I do, but it's just, even though this is, an electronic, dance music capital, with house music, we just recently celebrated the 40th year.
Mhm.
However, with that being said, this town is a rock town. So if you're,
Ah,
excuse my French, if you're, Caucasian and you play the guitar, then most likely you'll find something to book yourself out with to play.
mhm,
With that being said, and I hate to always take it to those levels, but I'm not a rock musician.
mhm,
So being in those places is very highly unlikely. You'll most likely find Dantès and perhaps a Jeffrey Pub or a person of color institution because we listen to dance music. I'm not saying that, other races don't, but, LGBTQ plus and African Americans, dance music has been our music
mhm.
for, at least for the last 40 years. And that's what it is that I do. And I have always felt like, most of my fans and the love that is reciprocated comes from overseas. So I love all of you guys in Chicago. But as far as performing here, most likely it won't happen anytime soon. Sorry, I didn't
Okay.
mean to.
No, no, no. Yeah, if it's hard to find the venues for you, that's understandable. So yeah, well, I hope that you will be able to find some venues that will want to share your music because we do love your music, and I think
Thank you.
the audience will be pleased. And you've got the presence. So there is a reason why your European fans love you. So good luck with being in Chicago and
Thank you.
sharing your presence.
Thank you.
Anything else that you would like to share with us before we go? Do you have any community projects? Because we know that you're very community minded, and but I don't know if you have time for that right now.
Right now, my calendar is completely booked, and I'm
That's
only
what I thought.
focusing on getting these. These are two projects. It's an EP and an album, so my focus has to be on, I don't, and most people who aren't musicians don't know that, but the work doesn't stop when you put the album out.
Hmm.
Once you put the album out, then the work, and the EP, that's when, everything actually begins. So I just don't have time for,
Uh-huh.
um,
Understood.
you know,
How long do you have to keep on pushing? For a year or so after the album and the EP comes out?
I think it's best to you to determine, what a good success ratio is for you because everyone has um, a different perspective of what they're trying to accomplish. So, if it's an EP, you could, work on that, work off of that for 3 months. If it's an album, you can work off of that for a year or 2 years. So
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Well, we wish all the best of luck to you, Dantes, for your EP and your album.
thank,
They will go when I go.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. Oh, Dantes, uh, contact information, and more information about Dantes. Where should our listeners go?
Sure. So if you guys would like to find out more information about me, you can go to facebook.com/Dantes Alexander Me or Instagram.com/Dantes Alexander. And there you can find the pre-save links for both my They Won't Go When I Go EP and album out July 5th and July 25th.
Awesome. Thank you, Dantes.
Mhm.